when you get a problem like this, it's better to write it out x squared like this. X squared means xx. So you can clearly see how many letters each part has got. Remember, we've got 3 parts there. 1, 2, 3, right? 3 parts. Now you need to find what does each part have in common, right? What do all 3 parts have in common? So looking at the numbers then, the biggest number that goes into 16, 8 and 12 happens to be 4. Right, 16 is in the 4 times table, 8 is in the 4 times table, 12 is in the 4 times table. So we are going to divide by 4. All right, and then looking at the letters, just the letter parts, what do they have in common? It's got an X here, X there, and X there. Because there's X's on all 3 parts, they can cancel. Right, there's another X over here, but there's no more X's left, right? Now looking at the Y's, there's a Y over here, there's a Y over there, and there's a Y over there. There's Y's in all 3 parts. So therefore the Y's can cancel. All right, so we've dealt with the letters. Now let's just divide by 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4. You're just left with the X. 8 divided by 4 is 2. All the letters are cancelled. 12 divided by 4 is 3. All the letters were cancelled there. That's it. Now this can be simplified because it's a fraction. Right, we've got 3 parts here to this fraction. Here's one, here's another one, and here's another one. There are 3 parts, all right? So that's 1, 2, 3 parts. Now, dealing with the numbers only, these numbers first, these big numbers in front of the terms. What's the biggest number that goes into 16, the 8, and the 12? It looks like it's the 4 times table, right? 4 goes into 16, 4 goes into 8, 4 goes into 12. So what we're going to do is divide every single number, every single one of those numbers by 4. All right, let's do that then. 16 divided by 4, and then that stays the same for now, just for the time being. 8 divided by 4 is 2, and just keep the letters for now. 12 divided by 4, and then keep the letters as they are for the time being. Right, what I'd like to do now is just elaborate on this a little bit. X squared means x times x, right? So what I'm going to write it is as x squared means x times x, and then that stays the same. Right, no changes there. No changes here so far. Right, z squared means z times z. So just elaborate on that. Okay. Right, once you get used to working on these kind of problems, you won't need to do this step. Right, I'm only doing it for illustration. So once you get used to it, you can avoid this step. Now, remember the number terms, the number parts have been simplified because already divided by 4. So I don't need to worry about those big numbers. Now, looking at the 3 parts, what letters do they all have in common? All 3 parts have to have in common. Well, there's an X over here, there's an X there, and an X here, right? So there's an X, X, and an X in all 3 parts. Remember, it has to be all 3 parts. Therefore, these can cancel because they belong to all 3 parts. Not 2 parts, not just 1 part, all 3 parts. Right, there's an X over here. Well, there's no more X's left. All right, so we don't have to cancel that X. Right, looking at the Y's now. There's a Y over here. You can see there's a Y here. There's a Y in this part, but there's no Y over here. So do not cancel the Y's. Right? If there was another Y over here, right, then we could say there's a Y over here, here, and here. Then we could cancel them, but we can't now. Looking at the Z over here, there's a Z over here. You can see a Z over here, a Z, and there's a Z over here. There's a Z in all 3 parts. Therefore, these can cancel. Right, there's one extra little Z there, but there's no other Z's to match it up, with it, okay? Everything, all the other Z's have been taken. Now let's just tidy this up. You've got a 4, xy, these have been cancelled. You've got the 2, everything cancelled here. 3, y, and the z. Right, I've just not written down the letters that I've cancelled. So you can see this thing over here has been simplified. Now just be careful now. Let's suppose you had something like this, something basic like this. Please do not divide by 4. I know 4 goes into 4, 4 goes into 8. Do not divide by 4 in this case. But if it was a fraction like this, right, then you'd be looking for something that all 3 parts have in common. Obviously 4 divided by 4 in that case is 1. Just leave the x as it is. 8 divided by 4 is 2, and then 4 divided by 4 is just 1. Right. You can divide by 4 because it is a fraction, right? When it's a fraction, then you can cancel, right? But remember, when it's just as it is like that, do not divide by 4. That wouldn't make sense, right? I can explain that in a slightly different way. Let's suppose you've got a fraction here, 8 over 1. Now say, try another one. Let's say we've got 4 over 8. What number goes into 4 and 8? It's obviously 4, isn't it? So you can divide by 4, top and bottom. 4 divided by 4 is 1, 8 divided by 4 is 2. We always know that 4 over 8 is the same as a half. Right? We are able to divide by 4 because it's a fraction. The top and bottom cancel. You can cancel it down, all right? But if we just had a number by itself, just a 4, right? It's not even a fraction. So why would you want to divide by 4 and make it into a 1? 4 divided by 4, 1. 4 is not equal to 1. That wouldn't make sense. So remember, if it's a fraction, right, like here, we had a fraction. That's why we were looking for something that's common to all 3 parts.